Good day and welcome back to my channel. So for all the time the last few months that I've not been able to spend on my workbench, last couple of weeks I actually have been. So I've gotten the OH-13 Sioux, or the Bell 47, completed. This is actually going ahead dealing with the detailing, what I work through, right up to how I handle the different ways of processing the putting together and the painting and everything. But I kind of explain it as I go along. But yeah, we finish it off in this episode. So how about we just go ahead and cut right to it? So into the cockpit, it's getting into the photo etch, which means basically stripping down some pieces and then building up the instrument panel from scratch. There's some creative bending, some creative folding. They're not hard. They're just a little complicated, a little exacting. And since I don't have tools, I struggle a little bit. Or at least I don't have specific tools, and I struggle a little bit. But I gave it my best shot, and that's what I got.
Well, was it worth it? Maybe. I still need to, I'm going to need to paint these pieces of the instrument panel. And of course it dawned on me that they really should have been done before I put them on, but I hadn't figured that out yet while I was trying to do the thing. So I'm going to have to be hairy brushing that thing before I put it onto the cockpit. But I feel like I can do that. I do like this. I like the look of it. That box, really? Folding that L, that was entertaining. I'm glad I did it just because, hey, I did it. So, but then, I put that next to these controls. Yeah, okay, it'll be fine. I did go ahead and put on, I did the rudder pedals from the photo etch. I guess mainly because, well, I just could. And I apologize for the background noise. My dog's got her loud toy out, so she's banging stuff around. But I've gotten this far. I need to go ahead and paint the seat, get that weathered before I go ahead and put the rest of this stuff together, just because I know I'm going to be knocking things around. So we'll get that done. Paint up these details, and then we'll move on. I think what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to muck with the instructions just a wee bit. So the instructions have us doing this, and then they have us moving on to the tail boom. Because I am what I am, I don't want to leave that cockpit laying out like that. So I'm going to jump to step 6, and I'm going to put that sort of the cockpit chassis piece together so that I can get that painted up and sitting as an assembly. But we'll get to that. First up is painting this, and then we'll move on.
I'll look at the interim steps, just making the paint job, trying to get it to look a little more weathered and lived in, just one step at a time.
All right, and with that, I'm calling the cockpit piece done. Basically, like I said, we did this part here, jumped to number 3, then skipped over here to number 6. Now, this seems a bit annoying. I will do that. I will add those pieces on later. What I ended up doing was painting the inside, then painting the outside. What this does do also is this creates something where I need to worry about how I'm going to paint and put this on. Like, so I'm thinking I'm going to assemble most of this before I even put this on, because I don't see a lot of these pieces actually attaching to the bubble. So I think what I'm going to do is do this work for the cockpit, or for the framework, and then paint it up. Now, again, you see like the engine dropping in here, and then all of this still needs to be painted with all this open. That's going to make that sort of creative. Now, fortunately, right, these pieces go in, right, put in these pieces. Here we go. Put these all together. Then we drop this frame and drop the engine in. So what I'm thinking is put this together, drop all this together, hold the engine out until I get to about there. And then I'm going to have to pretty much be painting things as I put them on. So it's going to make this creative. But at least I get to put the boom together and then drop the engine in. So, and then, like I'm saying, here they have us drop the cockpit bubble on, and I'm thinking that I can do that last. So I can go ahead and get a lot of that painting done, giving it its base color green, and then dropping this guy in last. But essentially, that's what the cockpit ends up looking like here with, oops, here we go. I did go with using the transfer seatbelts. I didn't get good seatbelts for blah blah blah. I didn't get like touch-up seatbelts, and I see there's something I gotta do some more touch-up here, cleaning a couple of those up. But anyway, a little bit of cleanup here, but for the most part, this is close to done. I did shift up the pedals. I kept them. I didn't leave them in that straight line. I went ahead and added interest. There we go. So anyway, there we go. That's where we've got the cockpit so far. Now we're going to move on to the next step, which is this. And I can see that there's some pieces here that I need to do. So I'm going to be taking a look at how these go. All right. I'll be back. Well, that was entertaining. So I did actually manage to get this done. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but I ended up getting it in, and I mauled it, but you can't really tell. So I'm going to roll with it. It was fun to actually give it a shot. So now that I've got that with a base paint in, and I got this in, I'm going to go ahead and please ignore the noise in the background. My wife is having a online gaming fest, and she's a little loud. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and I've gotten this part done. I'm going to skip the tail rotor. I will do that last, because that way I can paint it and get it in. So it's time dropping the engine and then move on to the next steps and just keep on going. All right, so I am, I kind of got into doing details, and I found out that doing the details, I ended up just kind of, because I was painting and then assembling, then painting and assembling, and I kind of got to where I am, and that's where I am. So I built the chassis, right? The main boom and engine. Dropping the engine in, getting these pieces in, that worked out fairly well. Getting that triangular piece right here to fit was a little bit fiddly. Let me find it. Here we go. Go ahead and pull the instructions because it'll be easier to show this way. All right. So, all right. So this piece, when you have to put it together, you got to be really careful how that goes together. This piece, this is, I guess, an intake. You can see I've modified it a bit. What I did is I took 0.5 millimeter lead wire, wrapped it around. I'd seen pictures of the hose like that on different pictures of an engine, like this here. Right? And that ended up being something I was going for. That's why it's got that blue color, because it's what I saw, and well, that's what I'm running with. And then basically I was just going piece by piece by piece, stepping through. So I did change that piece out. I did use the PE part for that. And this shows you the orientation of that as it comes in. I did choose to do this version. I use this version. So I use the A version. I think most of this is the A version. I'm kind of winging it, by the way. I still need to put this piece on. I still need to put the this aerial on. Did get this in fitting that was a little bit fiddly. Then coming around, making that was pretty straightforward. I have the wheels in a clamping down. I'm in the process of getting that put together. I have that aside and painting. So what I've also done is I've gone ahead and I found that there's some of the stuff that I needed to paint before I got in. And then I started looking at how it's all going together. And I went ahead and I got the transfers on too. Now, I do know that I have the kangaroo. It's too far back. It's supposed to be half there and half on the door. I'm intentionally not putting the door on. So but I also wanted to show the whole kangaroo. So I chose to do that. I got the Army decals, Army transfers, all these others put on. The other thing I did is I ended up snipping this off because this had to be all green and this had to be bright yellow. Now, doing it for the rotors. Now the rotors are interesting because it's green on top, black on the bottom, and yellow tip. That's easy because you can base it white, hit it with yellow, then tape that off and go. I did the same thing for the tail rotor. Right, and that ends up looking like this. Let me put this back. Ends up looking like this. I need to go back and detail up the metal parts with gunmetal, just like I have to here. But like I said, I ended up snipping this off so that I could paint that without trying to mask all this stuff. So now all I have to do is I'm going to wait for this to cure up, the transfer to cure up. Then I can glue that on. Then I can base this whole thing with varnish. At which point I can move on to weathering. But there's, like I said, little bits of detail painting yet to do. I also went in, and you can kind of see it. I put wire here that runs to the light. I did put cabling here that runs to the rudder, the tail rotor, basically to simulate the rudder cables. I didn't have easy line, which probably would have been better to use, but I had what I had. So it actually added some more detail. And I feel like what I've done kind of added the interest I needed into the engine. So now, once I varnish up the transfers, I can go ahead and start the weathering. I hadn't put this on yet because I wanted to get all the basically be able to get in and out of where everything is. So now it's time to kind of assemble it all together and then, let all that cure, assemble it all together, varnish it, then start weathering. Anyway, that's where I am, and we'll move on. All right, zeroing in on finishing this up. Transfers are on. That's what I'm looking for here. Matte coat. There we go. Matte coat is on. I don't think I'm going to weather it much more. The matte coat did a pretty good job of lightening up the overall shade. I may give it a little bit of modeling and lighting a bit, and perhaps a bit of dust here and there, but I think I'm pretty close. I think the next thing is get the rotor head assembled, get that oiled up, and drop it in. And I think we're pretty close to getting ready here. Let's go ahead and get the final detail. I also got the antenna and the red light to do. So let's get that done. I might regret this, but I'm going to do it. So this is the sprue nib where that canopy came off. That goes, crap, that broke off. I get to glue that back on. Great. That goes down on the bottom. So it goes all the way down there. That will hide, kinda, there. But I'll see it. So I am going to attempt to clean it up. I'm going to do the same thing we do for all the canopy cleanup, right? Which is scrape, then sand, than scrape than sand. So I think it's dug into. So I'm going to see how well I can clear that off. We'll see how well this goes. Wish me luck. I may well regret this a lot, but we're going to try. And you can see the different stages of sanding as I work my way through this one. Well, better. The amount of digging I would need to do to dig that all the way out was too much. So, hint, when cutting this guy off, cut it deep into the feeder, the feeder's part of the sprue. Then that way you can actually trim that back slowly and not end up having the same problem I did. Or at least, maybe you won't. I don't know. It might just be the way that goes in. But there we go. All right. And with having done those pieces, this Italeri Bell OH-13 Sioux is done. For an Italeri kit, Italeri, however you want to pronounce it. Some of you Italian folks, actually, if you want to, tell me how to pronounce that, because I've never heard him pronounced the same way twice. I was impressed. I have never found the confidence to find that manufacturer to be fantastic, and my dog apparently has opinions. Lots of opinions. She's been quiet for the last 45 minutes until now. So I've never found a lot of Italeri kits to be really fun or well thought out or go together without some fighting. This took a little bit of fiddly, but it wasn't anywhere near as grumpy as I have found many to be. The options that were provided for the different versions were fantastic. Yes, I went ahead and I modified and chose to put in or not put in some things. Yes, I did go ahead and select the Edward photo etch, which I think does make a difference, because that not having the transfers, not having the dials on the transfers was a big negative, right? That's a big deal. And in a bubble canopy like this, you're going to see all that. In an F-14 cockpit, a lot of that stuff you're going to get lost in the shadows. This, not so much. It's like right there, right in your face. Speaking of the Edward stuff, I fought my way through it. I did not do what I would consider a good job. I did an adequate job. A lot of more practice needed. Some of the other little detail stuff, like putting in the control rods or control wires, putting in some of the electric wires for the light and so forth. Yeah, they're kind of neat. There's a lot more detailing that could be done, but I really am not familiar enough with this to know what's right, what's not. And and what really would have helped if I had more easy line. Easy line could have made some of those wiring look better. But I had what I had, and I wasn't too disappointed with it. Once I got putting it together in the various stages and painting it in stages really was critical. So again, this is open, so painting the framework separate from the engine is kind of important. Getting the engine done up, I did go back. I've done a little bit of pigments on this, not much. But doing the engine separately from the frame, it also means you kind of got to think about how you're putting it together. The instructions have you just putting it together. So I had fun with this one. The microcrystal clear for the canopy is still drying. You can still see a little bit of white right there from where I put that on. Using microcrystal clear for this is really what I wanted to do. Again, the undersides of the rotor blades are black, the top are green, which is for the Aussie. I did the Aussie because. This thing's not that big. That's a 1 pound coin. And this thing's 1/48 scale. There really isn't much to it. So it was a fun little kit, fun little build. A lot of opportunity. The tubing for the tail boom, still a little chunky and out of scale, but not that terribly. But yeah, that's this kit. I'll go ahead and get some pictures together. I hope this series was useful and entertaining, or at least, fun to watch. And provided somebody some input. Again, if anybody has any suggestions, hints, queries, please feel free to put them down below. I will happily respond. Just please keep them respectful. And until next time, thank you very much. Happy modeling, everybody.